Hello everyone, welcome to another Buffalo Philharmonic concert. This is a pair of concerts on November 5 and 6, and it's a beautiful program. We're starting out in the first half with two great Russian composers, Igor Stravinsky and Sergei Prokofiev, but in a way that you may not have heard them before, in a very different style. Let's start with Prokofiev first. Prokofiev was an extraordinary prodigy, an extremely talented young man, both as a pianist and as a composer, but he was a very difficult student. He wouldn't listen to his teachers at all. He wrote music that terrified them. It was so ultra-modern, so dissonant, so virtuosic, so new, and he refused to change. He had no time for the classics, with one exception. He happened to love, really love, the music of Franz Joseph Haydn. So when Prokofiev wrote his first symphony, he created it as an homage to Haydn, his classical symphony. Like Haydn, it is elegant, it is balanced, beautifully proportioned, clear and filled with light and virtuosity, and something very special that he never repeated, this kind of classical approach. But of course, he did it in his own accent. Yes, there's a lot of classicism there, but there's also a 20th century voice in his voicing of chords, in his use of instruments, in his approach. It's a very modern approach to classical music. Absolutely delightful. You're going to love that. Our next piece is another handshake across the centuries from a Russian composer all the way back to the 18th century, and this time it's Stravinsky. Stravinsky was asked by the great impresario Sergei Diaghilev to write a ballet for him, and he wanted the ballet to be set in the 18th century, in the time of the Commedia dell'arte, the Italian traveling troupes of actors that became so popular for their funny plays. And he said to Stravinsky, well, since it's set in the 18th century, base it on 18th century music. Giovanni Pergolesi, look at his music and create a ballet based on his music. Stravinsky didn't know Pergolesi's music, but he said, I looked and I fell in love. And he did. He took this wonderful music of Pergolesi and made it his own. Of course, keeping the kind of 18th century feeling, but again with a strong 20th century accent, wild rhythms, incredible leaps that would never have happened in the Baroque period, and wonderful new sounds. Now, not everyone was happy about this. Diaghilev saw the score and was horrified. He said, "You have put a mustache on the Mona Lisa." And Stravinsky was very annoyed by that. And other contemporary musicians decried Stravinsky for defacing Pergolesi. Nonsense, Stravinsky said to them, and he was right. You didn't even know about Pergolesi till I used his music. And you can go ahead and respect him. But I love him. And I showed that love in this piece, Pulcinella. So it's up to you to decide. Is it more Pergolesi or more Stravinsky? Or is it about 50% each? Whatever. It's a brilliant, funny, and absolutely lovable piece. We are closing our program with a piece that is neither in the Baroque period or the 20th century. It is a solid romantic showpiece. This is the great piano concerto by Edvard Grieg, certainly on everyone's top 5 list of piano concertos. It's so romantic and written by Edvard Grieg, who became the hero of his country, the musical hero of Norway. Grieg was writing this at a very important time, very happy time in his country. Norway had just achieved independence after 400 years of domination by the Danes. This was a very happy time in the country. And Grieg had just celebrated his first anniversary with his beloved wife, Nina, and they had welcomed their first baby, a little girl. So this was Grieg's present to his wife on that very happy occasion. Now, Grieg studied in Leipzig. He learned the German tradition. In fact, this piece was inspired by Schumann's piano concerto. But Grieg went further. He expressed the feeling, the emotion, the landscape of his country in this music. So we see the serene Nordic grandeur of his land and the heroism that the country felt at this point. It's unforgettable. And speaking of heroes, we've invited a hero to come and play it with us, Joyce Yang. Many of you remember how just about 10 years ago, Long became ill suddenly, and Joyce came to Buffalo with less than 24 hours notice to play the Rachmaninoff Second Piano Concerto with us. She was brilliant. She had a triumph, and Buffalo has fallen in love with her. We're so glad to have her back to play the Grieg Piano Concerto.